Hey guys, welcome back to the Political Peasants podcast. We're live on YouTube as we speak. Anyways, hi Kenneth, how you doing, man? How's it been? I know
Hey,
it's been a
much
while since the
better.
last time
Yeah,
we
much
spoke.
better since we actually get to make a podcast.
Sit down and talk. I know you miss me. I know you miss me. Giving you
I miss myself
gi-
on camera.
giving you a lesson every day. It's okay. It's okay. A lot of people miss me. I'm
Nah,
just kidding, guys.
I just miss myself on the camera.
Anyways, we have quite a few topics here to discuss today. Some heavy topics, so we're gonna jump in right now because I think some long conversations that we could have. The first one is a very it's not a story per se because we find out that the Louisiana State Police lied about a particular story. Um, it has to do with a man called whose name is Ronald Greene, who apparently, according to Louisiana's police state, was killed in a car crash. But now it has come out that they lied, and they lied to the mom of this gentleman by telling him that he died in a car crash. But apparently, the body cam footage that was just released a week ago uh, clearly shows that Greene was tortured to death by police officers who denied him life-saving aid. And what happened was is that supposedly this guy apparently had a call to be pull over, and he did not respond. And that same trooper called backup, but after maybe two calls for him to pull up, he actually did. He went out of the freeway, but when he did, another trooper car came in and just crashed into the side. He stopped, but then obviously the police officers were already in the go mode, go get him out of mode, right? So
Right.
they broke into his windows. They shot him with the tasers multiple times, and then after that, they pulled him out and they beat him senselessly for maybe more than 20 minutes, right? It was so bad that I think the police footage was more than 40 minutes that they had, and I don't know why they only released two of them, but that those little 2 minutes were just enough to give you a sense of what really happened and how these troopers beat the hell out of them. They tased him tremendously, even though the man said, "Look, I was scared. That's why I didn't stop right away." And this story was just maybe 1 week after what had happened to George Floyd about a year ago, and we all know what happened. So this man was scared for his life. That's why he didn't stop right away, and he also said it when he was being tasered senselessly. So it's not shocking because we know that other stories also came out after what happened to George Floyd that same weekend, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
after the day that the trial of George Floyd went through, a couple other incidents went also happened, right? That was similar to what happened to George Floyd. And now we do see this maybe 1 year and a half late, and those officers so far I don't know if they have been fired or if they have put in
Right.
or anything like that, but it's just sad to keep hearing stories like these come out, and they're gonna keep it happening. They're gonna keep coming out.
Yeah, I mean, this is this is a few corrections. This actually happened in 2019, about a year before George Floyd's death.
Oh,
Uh, second is that this is what I was talking about when I said why every angle has to be covered before people actually start believing this stuff, because it's just like you're starting to see it kind of die down a little bit. Remember when George Floyd was killed? They're like, oh, it's just a few bad apples. It's just wow, because you couldn't defend it, right? You can defend it. This was a 20, the fake $20 bill. They killed him on fake $20. Like that's not even that much money.
yeah.
And now, and people are like, oh, it's just a few bad apples, a few bad apples. And then, you have, time after time, police officer stops a guy, he eats him, puts him under like lies about it. Another person does it, another person does it, and it's just like, why does all these people have to lose their lives before that narrative goes away? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why? Like, why is it so hard to just say, hey, if there's a few bad apples, let's weed out those apples, right? Or let's reform the whole thing if the whole thing is spoiled. There's nothing wrong with replacing police officers. I don't get why people are so adamant against it.
Yeah.
But for some strange reason, people will come out and defend it because this is indefensible. Like, you see what they did, and that's really the sad part about it is like you see what they did on camera, right?
Yeah.
You know they lied about it because you have the paperwork. The guys lied and said that they didn't have any body cam footage, right? And only after George Floyd's death did they come out and be like, "Oh, let's do an investigation on this one." Like, you know what I'm saying? So it took like
Yeah.
474 days after his death to open an investigation of why he
Yeah.
died.
Well, that's the reason. That's also the excuse they use, apparently, because he wasn't supposed to be released around the time when the George Floyd death happened, and
Yeah,
they said no, we had to put it on hold for more like investigation.
right. So
So
you
they
see,
uh
yeah, you see, they're covering up for him. They covered up a murder. The guy literally did nothing, right? Literally did
yeah,
nothing. He was scared. He made a mistake. But like you can hear him say it. You hear him say it, and like you can hear him, beg for his life.
yeah,
And there was like, "F it," just beat his ass, all that stuff, and then lie about it.
yeah,
And then once they lied about it, for some strange reason, I like you said, we don't even know if what happened to the police officers if they're in jail. Like they should be. They tased them, they beat them, they choked them. None of those things are what you're supposed to do as a police officer.
yeah,
And yet, for some strange reason, you just won't look at that objectively. They'll like because the thing is like this is one of those scenarios where it's like the only thing you can find that he did wrong that he didn't pull over immediately.
yeah,
That's it. But that doesn't deserve a death because he pulled over anyway. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't high. There was no high speed chase. You know what I mean? There was no, pull out a gun, shoot back at the police officer. No, it was just didn't pull over immediately until there was a second cop car. To be honest, he probably didn't even realize that it was him being followed. Some people don't, right?
yeah.
We
Some
had we
people don't
covered up.
realize.
We had a case a couple months ago where a guy was like he was just pulled out his driveway. He was about to leave his house, and a police officer shot at him. And the people were just like, and the guy was like, I didn't even know he was, no, he was talking to me. I thought he was talking to someone else because why would he be talking to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so this happens all the time. Like, you just go drive behind someone. No one knows if you're talking to them or if you're trying to get the guy in front of them. No one knows. So
Mhm.
he pulls over, but he pulls over anyway. That's the point. Like, what they asked him to do was to pull over. He pulled over, and this is what he got for it. So now, if you decide to So that now if you decide to fight back, right? And
Uh-huh.
let's say you get tired of it all,
Yeah,
you decide to fight back, and you say, "Hey, I'm not gonna listen to the police at all because they're not my friends." What's gonna
yeah,
happen? You're the bad guy. You do nothing, you're the bad guy. You do something negative, you're the bad guy. Do
yeah.
something positive, you're a bad guy. It's crazy.
Yeah, they obviously they're gonna use all the excuses in the book. Oh,
I
he
mean,
should have pulled away. He should have done this. Like he could have done everything right. Right? We saw the, I think
yeah,
the Philan Castile
right.
accident where he did everything right and he still got shot.
No, it was an accident. He murdered him.
Yeah,
He did. He did. He stopped. He wasn't even the driver.
mhm.
Yeah, Philando Castile wasn't even the driver. Like
And he was
he went right up to him and said, "Hey, man, like I have a gun in the car. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out. He's reaching for a gun." That's it. But I guarantee you, if he didn't tell him there was a gun in the car, he would be like, "Oh, see, he was concealing a gun."
he was considering it. Yeah.
Like that's how it goes. It's just like
And like he wasn't about to
it's a
show
lose
him the
lose.
license, right, and everything.
Yeah, it's a lose lose. It's a lose lose.
It's a complete disgrace. And
But
the
the
worst.
craziest part about it is
Uh,
like last week. It was last week or actually earlier this week. No, it was last week. Dylan Roof, the guy who, he literally had an AK, killed like, 9 people, like murdered them, and
mhm.
then got taken to Burger King by a police officer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's appealing right now because, after
Appealing.
committing, yeah, he's appealing his sentence because you know, after committing, 9
heinous
times
crime.
homicide and a hate crime.
Mhm.
It kind of shows you where the police officer's mind is, right? Like, you can't. It's like I said, you can't really like. You wonder why black people think that, or even minorities in general. A lot of minorities in general just think that the police are racist. I mean, look no further. I mean, you can do nothing as a black guy and get beat and killed. You can kill 9 people as a white guy and get taken to Burger King.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, that's not justice.
the more we keep going, the more time that keeps passing and passing. Have you seen that Key and Peele video where they make fun of this kind of situation where we have an angry police officer that just looks at a minority, especially African American, and it's like, oh my god, black guy, ta, 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 he starts shooting like crazy.
Yeah.
And then he sees a terrorist with a bunch of weapons. Like, sir, so you have to leave these premises. We're looking for a black guy, and a lot of people say, oh, that's not how it really happens. But the more time it goes by, the more accidents we see.
And
it
that's
seems like that.
And that's the problem, is that it has to every scenario has to be covered before people are like, all right, maybe it is out of control. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's funny that you say that too, because I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about it, where the police were called for a domestic violence dispute. I forgot what city. I think it was like Philadelphia or Chicago, and maybe it could have been another one. They were called for a domestic dispute. They see a black guy walking down the street. They stop, pull him over, and arrest him. They arrest the black guy, but the white guy who was actually doing the domestic assault and what they were called for just walked right past him and left.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we talked about it. I might have mentioned it a few weeks ago.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but like there was a call for domestic violence at an apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
There was a black guy near the apartment complex taking out the trash.
Yeah.
The police pull up, immediately arrest the black guy. And the white
must be you.
Exactly. Immediately arrest the black guy. And the white guy, the guy who was actually doing the domestic violence, right?
Hey,
walks
guys.
out the front door and then leaves. Like, that's what happened. Like, and it was just like, people were just like, that's so ridiculous. Or even a couple of years ago, there was a protest. And I think it was like near a mall or something. Mm-hmm. And the mall cop is like harassing this one black guy. And so someone in the crowd calls the cop. And the cops come, they arrest the black guy, and all the people are there like, no, it's not him. It's this guy right here. This is the bad guy. Like, pointing at the mall cop. And then they just continue to arrest the black dude. And it's just like, it's ridiculous.
It's just like that one thing that happened in LA when, remember, the owners of I think it was a liquor store, called the police because they essentially were like, someone robbed them or something.
And they just punched the shit out of the black dude.
Yeah, they pushed out of I think the owner got arrested.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, what the fuck? I'm the owner. I called you. I was like, no. And then he started reading his rights. Yeah. You have the right to remain silent. I was like, what the fuck?
And the guy who robbed walked away.
It's just like, because there were a lot of people who saw it happening. And it was like, no, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. It was him. They're going over there. And obviously,
talk about that one. The one where we're outside.
Yeah. They remember the video that we watched? I think we did talk about it in this podcast.
We did.
Oh, my God. But I mean, incidents like that keep on happening.
That's what I'm saying. It's like every possibility is covered before people finally go, okay, maybe it's an issue. But the problem is, look how many people have to die in the process. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's like I said, like, you had protests about police brutality in the 60s, right? In Los Angeles, right? The Compton riots. And nothing happened, right? Yeah. And then, like, 2010 rolls around, you see video after video after video after video. And people are just like, nah, this is just a one-off thing. And another one, and then another one, and then another one. They're just like, okay, this is kind of crazy. To the point where even, I don't remember that, the religious guy, the old guy, Pat Robertson, that was me. The 700 Club, the really old guy who's like, he's like religious.
Yeah, the one that looks like a vampire or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's almost dead.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, like he's on his show saying like, this is not okay.
Yeah,
because, exactly. Like, it's like completely out of left field because this guy's a hella right winger, right?
Yeah, he's a Christian right winger, pro police.
Exactly, and the thing is that you could tell like he's seen it so many times that's like, oh, all right, okay, something's wrong here. Like when this keeps happening for like the most like insignificant reason.
Yeah.
Like this guy didn't pull over, he got killed. You know what I mean? This guy paid with a $20 bill, he got killed. Hey, this guy was sitting on the ground, he got shot. Like it's like this guy was standing still and he got shot. Like
Yeah.
it's like when you see it so many times, like it's just like, all right, something's clearly
Yeah.
not right here. But the problem is that it has to cost that many lives in the first place. They should never go that far.
He even called out Trump, right? Because Trump was, sending like, the what's it called? What's the armed forces? No.
The National Guard?
The National Guard to deal with the situation and stuff. And I think Robert President was like, no, that's not what you should do, President. Mr. President.
Right.
You should not, just make the situation even worse by bringing the troops here.
Yeah, I mean, he had that picture of the video of the George Floyd protest where you had the old guy trying to give the helmet back to the police officer, and they just punched him in the face, and he fell over.
Yeah,
and then only like one officer can. Like, nah, keep walking.
Yeah, keep walking because.
And it's just like.
And then what happened is that they fire them, right? They fire the whole squad. No, they fired the guy who did it. No, the guy who did it, and they all quit.
Right, they all quit.
As protest. Yeah.
But the thing is just like, if this is how it's going to be, then maybe just fire them all and rehire some new ones because this is ridiculous.
But it has to do with the system because
because
there's no. Exactly. We have friends that are in the police. I'm sure you have family that are police officers. And they're not bad individuals. They're not bad people at all. But when they get into this system or this particular environment, they had to follow a certain regimen.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure most of their morals are tested in the process.
Of course, but that's the thing, right? It's like there's an FBI report that are like literal gangs in the LAPD, right? Where they're literally like whenever they seize drugs from like when they do a drug bust, they'll like take the drugs they'll split the money and then they'll take the drugs and then like have like some of their people that they protect, like some of their drug dealers that they protect. Because there's some drug dealers they don't arrest, right? But they know who they are. They'll give it to them so they can sell it and then give them a cut. Like there are things like this in the military too, but in the police department.
Yeah.
Right? And then you saw this one. It's like literally these guys literally covered up a murder. Like they're covering up a murder. They did not tell the truth. They knew they did something wrong. When you cover something up, that means you knew you did something wrong. Yeah. And it's like, and for some reason, it took this long to get it. And that's what's ridiculous about it, is that it's taking this long in the first
place. There needs to be a complete a system overhaul. But it's never going to happen. That's a very
I think a part of it is society, man. I think a lot of people look at police officers, first responders in general, right? Firefighters, EMTs.
As heroes.
And they just, exactly. The first thing that comes to mind is they're heroes, right? Put them on a pedestal. And then, when it comes to it, like, you see them do all this jank stuff. A lot of people are just like, nah, I couldn't be them, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's like, for firefighters, obviously, right? They don't really have the opportunity to do stuff like this. But when it comes to police officers, like, you see the abuse of power over and over again. Like, there's like, it's not even just black people, right? I know, like, we focus on it, but it's in general. Like, they just abuse the power. I mean, every time they get a chance, I mean, like, all the scenarios we just talked about, right? We just went on for like 20 minutes or 10, 15 minutes of just talking about some random scenarios. Like, that's not even half the stuff that happens. I mean, hell, you can find a video of pretty much anything you want to find. I mean, like, just to bring another one, there was a time where a guy was already arrested. They were just moving him to a cop car. I think they were going to transport him somewhere or something. And the police officer just started punching him. They started punching him in the face. And then the other police officer was just like, "Hey, man, you cool?"
Yeah.
Not to the guy. Not to the guy who got punched. To the other police officer that was punching him.
You okay, bro?
And he had the guy who had a mental disorder in jail. They strapped him to the table. And as soon as they closed the door, one of the people who were like guarding him, whatever, just started punching him in the face. And they caught him on camera. These are the ones they caught on camera.
Yeah. I think
And
we've seen him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's crazy how the guy, hit a senior with his baton and knocked him over. He got in trouble because people are like, "What are you doing? That's not cool."
Yeah.
But that's the problem, man. Like, you have to keep these guys in check, man.
Yeah. The
Like,
abuse of authority.
yeah.
The way and obviously people like Biden and his administration is like, we need to keep investing in more training because that's the fucking solution. I was like, how many times you've done that and it has been proven not to work?
No, but
But I
that's
know
what.
that's the political excuse or not the political answer to everything.
No, it's because it's like I said, it always starts at the top with the politicians who are not held accountable. It's like whenever it's not held accountable, it always trickles down the system because if they're not held accountable, then they're not going to hold other people accountable because they know what it means for them. I mean, if you have like just one of the many ways this can work out, right? Is like if you have a politician, our politicians don't listen to us. Our
Yeah.
politicians don't care about what we have to say. Well, you're going to be pissed, aren't you? You're going to be pissed. Some people are going to be so pissed they're going to take action. But how do you stop the action from happening? Police officers. So the police
Yeah.
officers are given more power, right? And so now whenever a politician comes along and says, "Hey, man, I think we should do that." Okay, maybe I won't go to your rally because that's what they were saying. That's what they literally said that. Some of these politicians, was it Bill de Blasio in New York? Oh, you want police? Well, okay, cool. We won't come to your next rally then. The next time you want to go out there, cool. You can do that by yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's so it's like it's one of those things where it's just like so now they're gonna be like, oh no, police reform. I didn't say police reform. I said more funding for training. That's what I said.
Yeah.
We're not gonna use it for training. They're gonna use it for weapons, but they're like, oh, I just want you to do more training, dude. Like what it is.
I'm sure like they would just literally, not go and send someone to shoot him just to make a point. Yeah,
So
like that's what it is.
No, but that's the thing. That's what it does, right? And that's why you see and so you see this circle where everyone is kind of forced into an action because if they're not, then if you reveal the skeletons of one part, they'll reveal your skeleton, and they don't like that. No one wants their skeletons to be revealed.
Yeah,
they want to keep that in the closet, and so that's why there's no action. Everything is right back down to judges, right, in the criminal system. I mean, like, think about it, right? Everyone in LA, I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Everyone in LA wanted the homeless problem to be solved. None of the politicians did anything about it, right? They're like, "Oh man, we don't have the money."
I think until now they have
because the judge said they had to. That's the thing. Like they got sued. They were like, "Look, city of LA, they have the money, they have the resources, but they're not doing it." What happened to this LA, the broke LA, who didn't have any money? Oh, did we say we had money? We magically found $60 billion in it. Like I'm just like what the fuck? Like, of course they found it because the judge forced them to find it. Like, you see what I'm saying? But that's the problem. Like, that's the problem. It's like it shouldn't come down to the judicial system to get change in anything. That's why. Why do you think? Like, think about it. This is probably the most. At this point in time, this is probably the most that our society has ever cared about the Supreme Court. Everything that decides this country going forward is coming from the Supreme Court. They're the only thing where change happens now, because our government doesn't do anything.
So this is why we should pick. But this is why they. I mean, I don't know. Some people like the idea that they should be reelected every now and then, but
no, they should be. They should. Like it's like there are people. Think about it. It's like there are people on that panel. I wasn't even alive to even have an input on being on that panel. So like I've been governed by people who I had no say in at all because I wasn't alive at the time when they got put there.
Yeah,
like, it's ridiculous. Like that's ridiculous. So you tell me so until I'm like what? Like until I'm like 50 will be the first time I'll actually have input on who gets to be the highest judge over me, and if I have children or grandchildren at the time. Because at that point I'll probably be having grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's so ridiculous. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I understand. So I think this is a good segue to go to the next story because, obviously we're talking about the Supreme Court here, but the next story has to do with, obviously, the United States yet again here being on the top of the picture, but also they're dealing with a nice country called El Salvador, which I am from. But the reason why I brought this story here is because when Trump was president of the United States, they had a good relationship with this country, and this country was going overwhelmingly through a change for the better. All right. They had elected a brand new president who happened to be the youngest president in that country. And since then, the United States has trying to bring a lot of aid as much as possible. That way, they could bring that change back as soon as they can, because they are also dealing with the whole immigration issue, right? And Trump had made a compromise to this president, who was like, "I'm gonna give you this amount of aid, of money, cash, so you could start investing back in the country, bring back jobs, but as well the security, which was the number one issue in that country." El Salvador not so long ago was I think, number one murders capital in the world. So since then, I think we're almost down to last. But when he became president, he did a pretty good job, and Trump gave him the money, right? But now that obviously we got a new administration, we got Joe Biden in the White House. They did not like the idea of how well he got, how well him and the Trump administration got along. So that's how things started rolling. Now the opposition of El Salvador has been completely destroyed. It got so bad. I think about 70% of Congress now has been reelected because of how bad things were. People were we're tired of it. They reelected almost the entire Congress, and now these new Congress came in and reelected the 4 people who were in charge of looking over the Constitution, and that went with, according to the Constitution, that's the way you do it, right? You elect representatives, and these representatives could change things in the country, and they did that. But the United States, along with the oligarchy in El Salvador, is like, we don't like that. So they went in and say, you guys doing something undemocratically, something that goes against your own constitution, and therefore I want you guys to change it back and put those guys back. I was like, with all due respect, we did this democratically speaking, right? And also we didn't go against the Constitution. And let me hold a whole conference and let me invite you, the United States, along with all the countries who are having issues about this thing. Everyone went besides the United States. The United States, which is the primary people who were accusing El Salvador of doing this, and the new president and the new government, they did not attend. And then but in that meeting, he was able to explain himself and actually call out the United States and everyone else who was like, you guys only united, or this problem emerged from what you say that you got together with the Salvadorian people, and the Salvadorian people told you that this was a problem, and these Salvadorian people you got together with were the oligarchy from El Salvador. Those people do not represent the population of El Salvador. I'm sorry. They're maybe 1% of El Salvador, but they do not represent our voice. I represent their voices. The people who got elected represent their voices. You're literally slapping the Salvadoran people in the face when you're saying that these people you got together with are the voice of El Salvador. I'm sorry. So that's what happened. So in a sense, the United States was like, oh my God, what we're doing now. Because everyone else, all the countries are like, you know what, you're right. We respect your democracy. We're not going to get involved with what's going on in El Salvador. We're going to keep doing business, right? So the United States was left alone with this BS what they have made up. So now the United States is like, you know what, we're going to take your aid. Since you don't want to do what we telling you to do, we're going to take all the aid that supposedly Donald Trump was supposed to give you. So I was like, that's fine, right? That's fine. We're calling your bluff. China recently has become very good business partners with El Salvador. So China said, look, we hear you what's going on. We believe you and we want to help you. So how much you need? $500 million. Okay, here's 500 million, and here's 500 million more. Anything else you need, let us know. And then Russia came in. It's like, you know what? We don't haven't established a business connection with El Salvador ever, so we want to start doing that now. So the El Salvador said like, oh, that's great, more jobs, right? More stuff that we could make. We could make rice, beans, anything that we were not making before. Now we can make it, and now we could bring it into the European markets with the help of Russia. And then obviously the United States now seeing Russia and China getting in that market. I was like, oh, what's going on here? So now the United States is like, you do not want to make negotiations with China or Russia. And I'm telling you, I'm doing that right now. So that's the problem that we have, that is going on right now with the United States, El Salvador, China, and Russia.
Yeah, I think the problem with well, first of all, leave them alone. I don't know how many times I gotta say just leave them alone. Just like Venezuela, leave them alone. But with that being said, I think the problem with the United States is that I don't know what the mechanism was. I don't know what the mechanism is, but for some strange reason, United States politicians have this Cold War mentality, where they just can't get out of it. They just can't realize that ended. It's over. Like there's no more Cold War. We won it. USSR is gone. Russia's still there, but not going to get rid of. You're not really going to do anything with Russia. They can't even compete with us militarily anymore. It's like, so United States tries to put the thumb on everything, especially in Latin America, right? And it becomes an issue because when you make the situation volatile like this, right? This is where this goes, right? Like if the United States were to get its way, right, it probably will have a decent chance of doing it. All it would lead to is instability in El Salvador. And then that instability will be fueled by money from the United States, most likely. And then, you're right back to violence. Right? Because one of the things that people haven't really been talking about in Latin America is that the Latin American countries have been really getting the crime under control. Like, a lot of this stuff has been starting to come under control. It's not perfect yet, right? It's not like they got, all this, the drug cartel, completely stomped out, but they've been getting it under control, right? Mm-hmm. But just like the Middle East, United States comes in, money, change, usually not for the better, and then it ends up being terrible. I mean, it's funny that in the United States, the government couldn't give a shit about brown people, but they want us to believe that they care about brown people in brown countries. Like, that's bullshit. And we all know that's bullshit. And so it's like why they keep wasting our money and resources to make enemies? Like that's really what it is. Because every time these guys, the government does it, they're never the ones to pay the price. It's always the people. Like whenever there's a terrorist attack isn't against the White House, even though it should be. It's going to be against average everyday people, right? Who probably didn't even know this is happening, right? And we all know why. It's because the United States wants dominance over El Salvador and any resource that it may or may not have or may find in the future. Like it's the same with Venezuela. Like we want the resources, and we believe by screwing them out of the resources, that's what it is, it's better for us. But in reality, the way I see it, in the way everyone should see it, is that these are people, okay, who are in their country that they have making their choices. Like you wouldn't want a country to come up in here telling us, and it would be warranted, right? Telling us that, oh, your government is corrupt. No. You see Biden? No. That's voided. He's like, Trump is the real president. Like, can you imagine? Imagine if any European country was like, you know what, Trump is the real president. We don't believe Biden.
Yeah, we don't believe. Yeah.
Like people are like, what the fuck? This is the United States. We choose. But we did that in Venezuela.
Yeah, imagine if all these countries were like against this U.S. policy and imperialism bullshit. We're
Yeah,
like, you know what? Let's get together and start arming and financially helping the opposition in your country that mainly support Donald Trump and his idea of, oh, there's corruption going on here. I lost because there was meddling on the United States
right,
election process.
right, exactly. We
Yeah,
just had like Russia Gate over stuff like that, and then but the thing is that like you have people in El Salvador, Venezuela, all these other Latin American countries. A lot of them just want a better life. Just want a better life. They
yeah,
don't want to be suffering like that. And as soon as they take steps to get there, another more powerful country, United States, comes along and says, "Nah, that's cool. You can start over from scratch." Just put their hand on it and just erase all the progress. And then the most hilarious thing about it is then the next person, like who's racist, right? Why is all
yeah,
this violence in Latin American countries? Like they clearly don't know what they're doing. The government, maybe those countries need to fail, right?
yeah,
Remember Donald Trump? Oh, those are a lot of shithole countries. They're shithole countries because we never let them get off the ground. But
yeah,
as soon as they start moving up, we just say, "Nah, that's cool." Then we slap them back down, and then and the cycle starts all over again.
yeah. Because it has to be that way.
Right? It's like
You
it's
can
crazy.
you cannot let a country like that, you know, surface from the bottom
What
and
what's
have hope
what's
as
the main gang in El Salvador?
nothing. They literally own them.
Which one?
Oh, Salvador, like in the industries, the United States, the corporations.
No, I said what's the main gang? Like street
Bro,
gang.
gang. Oh my man.
Yeah.
You could say 13th Street, or La
Oh,
Calle Tre.
MS-13.
Yeah, MS-13. I even forgot about it. MS-13 is the biggest
Yeah, you know where
one,
MS-13 started?
and maybe La Mara Salvatrucha is the next one. Yeah,
But that's MS-13.
yeah. No, that's MS-13, and then Salvatrucha is another gang,
Oh, okay.
which is gang Salvatrucha. That's what it means in
Oh, I
Spanish.
see what you mean.
All right,
But you know where MS-13 started?
here.
I say, you want to know how it started?
How?
Remember that war that the United States fueled in El Salvador? Way back in the 80s?
It is, yeah,
Yep. Guess where those soldiers went after that? Well, because what we did, right?
yeah.
They came to the United States. And I guess how we treated them. They're
Oh,
brown. Like
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
So guess what
yeah.
they
In the
did?
80s,
But guess what they did?
90s.
They
What
made a
they do?
game, right? To protect us. And
Mm-hmm.
then what do? You deported. And what
Yeah,
did they
no,
do once they got back?
yeah, yeah.
It
I
always
understand
comes
how.
full circle, man.
Yeah, I understand how it was made because
No,
they're
no,
all.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, had we just stayed out of it, chances are it probably would have turned out the way it did.
Oh, they would have done it way better than just like release them when they got there.
I mean, just like, interfering in that civil war to begin with. Like, we shouldn't even
Yeah,
interfere in it. It was none of our
yeah.
business.
To be honest, the thing is they interfere because the Salvadorian government was not ready for a civil war,
Exactly.
especially when during that time, obviously, the United States. I mean, not the United States. Um, Russia was helping Cuba, and Cuba was helping the rest of Latin American countries.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
And in
But
this case, El Salvador was beating the hell out of the military, the Salvadorian military, and the United States was like, hell no, we're not gonna have that. But obviously El Salvador was like, but we don't have the money to buy weapons and helicopters and tanks, so anything that we need. I was like, don't worry, just put it on our credit card. We'll give you everything you need. What you need. Okay, yeah, we need helicopters, armament, food, supplies. All right, they give them and more, because the
right,
thing is, obviously, the United States just had come from the Vietnam War,
right.
and they had all these,
Weapon.
the weapons and stuff they had made in the fucking in the back of their, the back of, whatever they had them stored. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we could sell it to El Salvador, and that's what they did. They sell it to El Salvador and put it in a credit card, which until this day, the Salvadorian people are still paying, by the way.
Hey, on
Uh,
top of that, a lot of those weapons were still floating around that area too.
yeah.
And so, like, that's
So
what I'm saying. Hey, if the United States just stayed out of it, a lot of stuff wouldn't have been happening. Because once you put those kind of weapons out there, I mean, hell, we even had it again in the Middle East. But we were finding U.S. weapons that we gave them.
yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that Fox News said, like, "Oh, look, he had weapons of mass destruction." On the side, it was like U.S.
U.S. Yeah,
Yeah, like and it was just
yeah.
like
So
you put the
for
weapons there, and he said he
yeah,
had
just
them.
just to give you as a reference, if you've seen the first Iron Man, that's exactly the whole picture. What happened in the first Iron Man movie? That's exactly what we're talking about, right? But
Yeah,
everywhere, right,
essentially,
all around the world.
which is essentially you give them the weapons, then you attack them for having the weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Or
like
you just just made the fact that they have weapons when they don't.
right.
Like
That's
bullshit.
right, and so so that's essentially what was happening. And so when it comes to El Salvador, I take the same sense as in with Venezuela. Like let them be people. Let them
Yeah.
be a country. Like they'll like it's not like we're not corrupt. It's not like we don't do hell. I would say we're probably corrupt as hell. We ain't
Yeah.
doing like what like Putin is doing, right? And we ain't like
Yeah.
having people murdered out in the streets and shit, but or like having political opponents tossed in jail, but at the same time, it's not
Kind of
like,
close.
not really. It's at the same time, we're not really, having politicians who are like, "Hey, let's help the people." This last year was probably like the first time you really saw the government like, "Hey, yeah, let's help the people." That was it, and that
Mhm.
was like, and you saw they barely wanted to do that. They're like, "Oh, 1,200. Oh man, that's way too 1,200. Yo, that'll last like a year." I forgot who said that, but like it was like
Bro, we had a politician in El Salvador who said that the Salvadoran people could live out of just eating Cheetos. Yeah, he said like, bro, you know what? They don't need nutritionist food. They could they could just live out of eating Cheetos and fucking like $1 fucking Lays and whatnot.
and
I
then,
was
and,
like,
guess and then guess what happens if they become obese? Oh, it's because you made bad choices, right?
bad
Is
choice.
it
Yeah,
how it goes?
it's
Oh,
like,
it's
he
always the
said
people's fault.
there. My God, there's some dumbass politician out there, and in El Salvador, back when obviously we didn't have the new uh, new elected people in the Congress. My God, there were some dumb people out there making the dumbest statements out in the world.
Of
But
course.
we have all of them all over, spread out of the fucking world. And here, there's dumb shit. In the United States, we've seen some dumb ass fucking politicians. Right?
Well,
They're
'cause
they're still
they're
elected
bought and paid
office.
for.
Yeah,
They're bought and paid for. I mean, like I said,
yeah,
these people don't know about the systems that govern the country. The people who happen to get elected with because they have more money.
Mhm.
I mean, you see it in Gavin Newsom, right? Like he was Jerry Brown's lieutenant governor for like what 5 6 years, and then he got all the people who was giving him money, and then they're like, hey, you're gonna be a new governor. He got it because name recognition is what matters. If you can get your name out there, people know who you are. That's who gets elected. That's why celebrities often win. But like these people don't know about the complex systems, and so they're easily swayed by people who pretend they know.
yeah. Just to end a note here before we move on to another topic. This dude, Nayib Bukele, also obviously he called out the blood from the United States, but also it was before that it was Mexican's president, I think it was Manuel Lopez Obrador, who also called out the United States for funding the opposition, because what the United States did in El Salvador was like, yeah, we're not going to give you more aid, but instead of giving you the aid that directly is going to help the people, we're going to give that aid to the opposition. So they start right now. They're financially financially supporting the opposition, and they doing it right out. They just did it. They just said, "Oh, we're gonna do that." They're not even pretending anymore. They're just like, "Wow, we're gonna do it." So what? What are you gonna do? And they're doing the same thing in Mexico. And the fucked up thing, they're also arming the opposition in Mexico. All right. I think we learned that when Hillary Clinton, remember they did a Rapping the Furious story when
Oh
she
yeah,
got
yeah.
when
Fast
she
and
got
Furious, something like that.
she got caught down the border sending fucking weapons. to
Be
a lot
her and
of.
Obama. Her and Obama were like sending weapons or some shit.
Yeah, sending
Yeah,
weapons to what's it called? Cartels.
right. They
Yeah.
they said we wanted to trace the weapons, but they lost track of them.
My God,
Yeah.
they did it on purpose. Obviously, they wanted to lose the trace. They don't want to go back to say, "Oh, brought to you by Hillary Clinton," right? But
Can you
anyways,
imagine to the cartels like Hillary Clinton says that note
yeah,
Trump said like with
yeah.
the how Trump said the note with the stimulus checks.
Oh,
Like
the
Hillary Clinton
face.
says, yes, Hillary Clinton says the note with the gun,
It's
the
stupid.
cartel.
Yeah. Something else that the Salvadorian president is doing is that recently he has been aiding other countries nearby, and he's trying to pull them together and come and to unite and form one strong Central America. Which, I mean, some other people down in history have already tried that, and obviously have been assassinated because of it. So Kenneth, I think earlier today, before we started the podcast, said I'll give like a couple of months
Oh yeah,
tops
yeah.
before
Go
they
three,
try to
three
do
weeks,
something to him.
3 weeks. Yeah. The
Hopefully
thing
that
is, like,
doesn't
no,
happen.
of course not. Yeah, no one ever hopes it happens. I hope it does happen. I hope it actually succeeds because I think Latin America needs it. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about power like that nature, and if you don't have powerful friends to back it up, those powerful people kill. Because it comes down to what. Because it always comes down to like you. Let's say you do have that kind of union, right? Who's going to be in charge? You see what I'm saying?
If he gets
And,
killed,
and that's a lot of power to start gaining, right?
yeah.
And so it's like, and then once you're dealing with that kind of money as well, people don't like it. I mean, you
Well,
saw what happened. Like these guys were willing to, when I think it was Venezuela, right?
mhm,
When the United States was like posturing, like we were about to invade them, these guys, the rich people in that country, were like, you know what? I'm gonna close down all the stores so people can't buy stuff, so we can
yeah,
say that to the United States that we're oppressed.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they're like that's if they're willing to starve people out like that, like they don't care about your life. Like they only care about the
yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Like
They don't
that's why I
care.
say is like so if they have that much money to have that kind of influence in the first place,
Mm,
they're gonna hire some people. Especially in a country where, like I said, crime is rampant. Politicians are kind of killed out all sometimes now. It's not as bad as it used to be, like I said, but it's not really that difficult to get to politicians. And so I think what you shared a few stories, right, where they would just go to like a rich person's house, grab the kid, like yo, ransom. Okay, cool, here you go. They would keep doing it, and
yeah,
so it's like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if these guys gonna end up dead, and they're gonna be like, hey, it was some drug cartel bullshit, and it probably would be some quick drug cartel bullshit because they paid the drug cartel. It's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
you
I
see,
wouldn't be surprised
yeah, I mean, you
because
see what's
he
happening in Colombia, right? I mean, yeah,
what?
they're just laying people out. Like the government is just laying people out. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. They protested. They believe it was in Colombia,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're just it's people are going missing, getting killed, like left and right. Protesters, just left and right, just and like it's just crazy, man. And Colombia used to be, the drug cartel central of
I
Latin
mean,
America.
no, it still is. And the thing
Oh, it is.
is, well, the thing is, it's between Colombia and Mexico. But the thing is, Colombia it used to be obviously known by all these drug cartels
Right,
being all spread out and wild, right?
right.
But what happened is that they get rid of the cartels. They obviously most of them got destroyed and they got annihilated by the CIA and
True.
obviously the government of Colombia because they were like exported or they were like they were taken
Yeah,
into custody here in the United States. Some of them here, just
yeah,
like El Chapo.
yeah.
But what happened was that what happened to the market of drugs? Obviously, Mexico took some of that market, but the other market still remains in Colombia, and now is done by the government itself and the paramilitaries. Right, so
Yeah.
they both took over that the market of drugs in Colombia. So now the government is involved in the drug cartel.
And that's the thing. It's like, and so these protesters just disappearing. They're just like, oh man, this person got killed. We don't know who did it. this person disappeared.
Yeah.
We don't know where they are. It's just
Yeah.
like it's I'll tell you, like when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, especially
I
when
understand.
it gets to get crazy. Yeah.
And the worst thing was that this dude is getting, actually, a lot of people from different countries are like, oh, we want you to become our new president. And that's a bad thing, because it's like, oh, I want you to be our king, our savior.
And that's how they're gonna spin it. And that's how they're gonna spin it. And then before you know it, he's dead.
That's what I mean. I hope he comes back, and I understand what he wants to do, and it's a noble idea, and I think it is a revolutionary idea. But you should come down from being a revolutionary from the whole Central America and just focus on your country for now.
Yeah.
And whenever you want to, you could aid. I'm not saying you shouldn't aid other people, because what happens is that during the COVID-19, some people from Honduras, which is Honduras massively corrupt, people was like, what about us? And they were asking his government, what are our COVID-19 vaccines? We don't give a fuck. All of you die. So I was like, okay. And they ask El Salvador's president, look, I know you have helped us before with food. Can you help us getting some COVID vaccines? Give us the connection of who you got your COVID vaccines from. We want to talk to them because we have no COVID vaccines. So he's like, don't worry, I got you guys. So he called the people who are getting the COVID vaccines for them, and he sent them 10 trucks full of COVID vaccines.
Oh, is that that video with them driving down the street?
Yeah, like driving towards the people.
Yeah,
and people
they had like 4 or 5 trucks and just like.
Yeah, just coming here.
And then everyone like nearby was like clapping and cheering and all that. Yeah.
Because like now they started like seeing the videos. Like, oh, we got me getting vaccinated. Like we didn't know we were gonna get vaccinated, but we now are getting vaccinated. And that's a miracle. That's a fucking miracle, because nobody gives a fuck about us. And that's what we love, Salvador's president. Hopefully, like, we wish we could have someone like him.
That's all everyone ever asks for.
Yeah.
I say, like, it's not even a crazy request. Just give a shit. That's it. Like, that's all everyone wants.
And to be honest, my dad, like, we know that, this guy is not the best in the world, because he has some, like, some, like, capitalistic tendencies here and there. He doesn't believe in he's not a socialist.
Right.
He's not a socialist. He doesn't believe in socialism. He believes that there should be social programs.
Right.
Right? But that's about it. Right? If anything, he's
a social democrat.
He's just like Bernie Sanders. Right? In a sense, but he doesn't like to call himself a socialist. Right? But anyways, let's move on from this. I think we talked about it enough. And let's have our last topic of the day, and it has to do with raising the minimum wage. I know we had touched this topic last time, but now we want to discuss what is the living wage, right? We have this story that comes from Pittsburgh, and he says like this, and it reads from MSNBC on Twitter. After raising the employee wages to $15 an hour, Claiborne's ice cream parlor in Pittsburgh received well over 1,000 applications for job openings.
Who would have guessed?
Co-owner Jacob Henkler says customer survey has improved, and he hasn't noticed a difference on our bottom line. And that's a quote. So obviously these parlors getting 1,000 job applications, calls if their job openings in a place, just because they raised their wages to $15 an hour, which is not much per se. But even the owner's like, we don't see a lot of change. We raised the minimum wage, and we don't see a lot of change on how much we earn.
This is a small business, right?
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, it's. I mean, did I say this? Did I say this? Yeah. I said from day one. It's not that people don't want to work; it's that they don't want to work for trash. Because with the government giving out the checks they're giving out, you're making $15 an hour, essentially.
Yeah.
Some places at $15 an hour go really far. Other places it won't. The fact is, the question becomes, why would I want to work for $10 an hour when I can stay home and do nothing for 15? This is what businesses don't want. That's why you keep having all these companies come out and say, we don't like the government, we don't like welfare, we don't like entitlement, because it forces them to do better. Yeah. That's why they don't want a minimum wage, right? It's because it forces them to do better. Because you take a look at it, like this government was just able, bare minimum, to give almost every American in this country who didn't have a job $15 an hour. Everyone loved it. The economy went crazy, right? And everyone was happier for it, right? Everyone was more relaxed. And they were like, and when the jobs started to come back, but hey man, we're open. We need people. They're like, how much? $9 an hour. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not. I'm gonna stay at home. I'm gonna stay my ass at home. Right?
yeah,
That's what happened. Right? And we talked about it last time, or maybe we didn't, but
yeah, yeah. We
we did
did.
talk about it where during the pandemic, California ended up with I think a $70 billion surplus.
Yeah,
So a surplus, that means we have extra money. And for some strange reason, all this thing people thought it was going to be all hell breaks loose because that's how the economy works. The more people who have more money makes the economy stronger because because the economy is the flow of money. So the more flow, the stronger the flow, the stronger the economy, right?
yeah,
And so it's sad that you had a lot of business owners, these guys being one of them until recently, who had to realize, there was a pretzel shop in California too. They had to learn it, where they just learned, hey, if you give your employees more money, you will get more money because guess where they're going to spend it? At stores.
yeah,
That's like, oh
yeah.
my god, like they spend money
But
at
then people
stores.
come back with the argument, "Oh my God, it's gonna cause an inflation happen," which obviously right now I think the market went down because they were scared of the inflation happening. But it was just like
But
people
this
already like before they had already predicted there was gonna be inflation because of
no no
COVID
but
19 and people coming back to
no
the
but, but
economy.
no but that's the thing, right? Inflation happens whether you give them a raise or not.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
said the raise didn't happen. We most Americans didn't even get a raise since like the 80s. Still can't buy the same stuff you bought in the 80s, right? Prices still went up, right? And even when it comes to the inflation that happened recently, of course it was going to happen like that. People don't know how. Like this is a classic example of uneducated people talking about stuff. The reason why inflation was at 4% last month was because the way inflation is calculated year over year, they compare April of 2020 to April of 2021. All right. In April of 2020, what do we have, Ray?
actually,
Deflation. You had deflation.
yeah. I
So
know.
if
I know prices went up because of COVID.
no, it went down because of COVID.
Yeah, I know.
And that's the problem, right?
So
And that's
people because
because
people said,
people
"Look, it went down because of COVID, and now we just went back to that same
we
price that
now
we're
we just
supposed
went
to
back
be."
to normal,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So it looks higher than it actually was because the reason why is because when the pandemic first hit, people were scared. They didn't know how they were getting money. There was no stimulus checks like that. So
Hmm.
when they did get the one stimulus check from Trump, right, they used it to
Yeah.
pay off credit card debt, and then they saved the rest, which
Uh-huh.
caused a massive amount of deflation. So now after all the stimulus checks and the unemployment checks,
Mm.
people started spending more. The inflation back to normal. So it looked like it went up 4%, but it really didn't. Well, I guess it technically did, but it really didn't. It went up to normal, the normal 2%, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it moved on. And so people got scared of it because they didn't know how the economy worked, right? Or how this stuff works. And so this is another one of those things where it's just like people see the basics. And I've said this many times before. People see the basics. Oh, if you want to do well, save money. If you don't have the money to spend, don't spend it. But it doesn't work that way. Not especially not for the government, but it doesn't work that way for most things. Like you can invest what little money you have and make more money down the line, right?
Yeah.
It's the same attitude you see lately with people saying, "Don't go to college, don't go to college." It's like it's too much debt. That debt can get you more. Of course, if you're not taking advantage of the opportunity as you should, then yeah, the debt is just going to be a debt, right?
Yeah.
But the debt can give you more if you take advantage of the opportunity. A credit card isn't necessarily bad unless you buy stupid shit with it.
Yeah.
They're like these things are not. It's not a black and white issue when it comes to money, right? It's not just spend or save, right? It's spend, save, or invest, right? And so this is one of those scenarios where the guy with the company, right, who owns the company, he realized that by investing in his employees, right, which is what your paycheck is and why they give you the job is because they believe in you, right?
Mhm.
Customer service went up, was better. He made the same amount of money, and I guarantee, and he got more applications. So while all these other companies around him are struggling, right,
Yeah.
to pay to get workers in the door, while they're complaining about, oh, no one wants to work, no one wants to work. I think on CNN they said, they asked, are Americans lazy because no one wanted to go back to working for BS,
Yeah.
right? He's over here be like, I just got so many applications, all these people working, people want to
Yeah.
work for me. It's like, why? Because you're paying them decent.
Yeah.
Because guess what? These people also have to live their lives. Like they have to pay rent, they have to, pay car notes, they have to pay, loans off, credit card bills, whatever it may be, electricity, utility bills, right? They have to do all that stuff. And if the best you could do for them is say, well, we'll give you $10 an hour, and that's not enough to pay it, why would they want to work for you? When they could just
Mhm.
stay at home on unemployment and have enough to pay it. Like you see, that's
Yeah.
that's the issue, right? That's really the problem. It's like they don't the companies don't understand that these people have lives. They're not just there to work for your company. They're there as an exchange. You get their labor, they get your money, right? And your money goes to paying for their life, right? And their labor goes to paying for the existence of your company and ultimately your life. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
it's just, but it's just ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So now when you think about when people say a living wage, you should pay people a living wage. Obviously, you just explain it, right? Like
Yeah,
paying people $15 an hour. Now people are going to be able to pay more of their bills and live comfortably because now they're getting paid a living wage. Now people say, should that be the standard federally for every other state, $15 an hour? And people's like, no. Some people say, oh, that's way too less. That's not even enough in places like New York, for example.
in parts of
Right, for
California.
15, like New York right now, I think it's $15 an hour, and in California, it's going to be 12. It's currently $12 an hour, as I think, and it's going
California's 12, Los Angeles 13.
okay, but it's going to be 15 in the upcoming like 2-3 years,
Right.
right? But when people say you should pay people a living wage, what does that mean?
Oh, you're asking
Just
me a question.
yeah, but no, because people like to discuss that because it varies from state to state.
Well, yeah, living wage just means enough to live. I mean,
Yeah.
enough to live. Like, if you pay your rent, so essentially is pay your rent, pay your bills. Normal bills being like a car note, utilities, right? Or I should say transportation utilities.
Hmm.
And then have some to save, have some left over to save, right? And of course, food and all that stuff. That's essentially what living wage means.
Yeah.
And so, some states, like you said, some states are 15, some need 18, some are 12, right? But as it is right now in the United States, almost no state has living wage as a minimum.
Hmm.
Like almost no state. Like the amount of hours you have to work just to make a living on the way the state is, it's ridiculous. I forgot what company did it, but they made a map where they said like most states, in order to make living wage, got to work like 80 hours
Yeah.
a day at least. And the problem is that there was another study that came out a couple of days ago that said, and we overwork people. Now, well, overworking me, more than 40 hours a week.
Hmm.
Not only does their performance go down, but you're more likely to kill them, right? You're more likely to have health problems. They're more likely to die.
Yeah.
And we did hear some stories about that over the years, right? But it's just one of those things where it everyone will understand that there's the law of diminishing returns.
Hmm.
But for some strange reason, when it comes to working, there's no law of diminishing return. It's like, for some reasons, if you make them work more hours, they'll put in more productivity and they'll make more money. And everyone is showing you like, no, that doesn't work that way. I
Yeah.
think they said the most optimal work is like 3 or 4 days a week, and that's where you'll get like the most out of your employees. And then after that, it starts to decline. And that's why you have this whole 4-day work week thing kind of pop up.
Hmm.
Because like people are just like, after 4 days, people start checking out. You know, the fifth day
Mhm.
it's pretty much treated like a weekend anyway,
Yeah.
right? And so that's how they say people feel, right? And that's how they
Mhm.
kind of react, like physically or
Yeah.
physiologically. And so, uh, again, like I've said, I'm happy that this guy finally realized the truth. I just like the other guy who cut his own pay,
Yeah.
and he was famous because Fox News ripped on him a lot. He cut his own pay and gave all his employees 80,000.
Yeah. CEO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, he found out that by doing that, his employees were way happier. They
Yeah.
worked harder. They were more likely to pay off debt.
Yeah.
You know, they
Productivity
had they
went
had
up.
like
Profits went up.
they had kids. They had more kids. Almost,
Yeah.
if birth rates are declining, I don't know. It seems like money would be a pretty large issue in that.
Yeah. They're willing to take
Um,
more risk, buy more
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and it was as a result, his company exploded. Like they're making money hand over fist. I think they quadrupled their revenue, and I think their profit too. You know,
Mhm.
they got like 10 times the clients now. Like it's like his company is doing great, and that's what happens when you have great employees. But you only get great employees if you're willing to pay them well.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah.
And
You just
anyone
have.
could be a great employee. You just have to pay them well.
I think I don't know if it was the Biden administration or I think it was the Trump administration who was working towards paying people minimum wage, but federally.
Right.
But they wanted to tie it down to
Inflation.
I don't know if it was inflation, but they say they wanted to just do it once, and that's it. They just like, okay, we're gonna increase you the minimum wage, and it's gonna stay like that,
Right.
and it's gonna keep going up, but it's gonna stay to 50, like 15. Like right now, it's at 15, right?
Yeah.
But according to we should be like around 20 or something, right?
Yeah.
But they
We should be
wanted,
around 25.
25. So they just want to bring it to 15 and leave it there. It's gonna keep going up. So people's like, no, that's not fair, because 15, like we said, is not enough for everyone in different places.
When it comes to those kind of people, it's like the market is king until they start losing. That's how it works. The market is great until it starts losing. Because they'll say, because you heard it. Maybe we all heard it, right? 2019, 2018, before the pandemic hit, it was like, oh man, minimum wage. Why would you raise it to $15? It's 50. It's so low because that's the market rate. Now that the pandemic hit,
Mm.
the market rate for labor has gone up.
Yeah.
Funny how they don't want to pay it, right? Now all of a sudden, we had the government has to step in and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not pay the market rate of $18, $19 now. Right?
Yeah.
It's government stop this, please. You gotta give them some way. You gotta pass some law so we can get some labor out here. It's ridiculous. It's like, wait, I thought the government was the enemy.
Yeah, but I think what people should do is, like, if they should pass a federal law, it says you need to pay people a living wage, and then give them like the substance of what it means to pay a living wage.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
how do you calculate a living
right.
wage, right?
And that's the thing. I think they have to get like people to like calculate in this state this is a living wage. In this state this is a living wage. Because if you don't do that, they're just bullshit. Be like, hey, living wage is whatever you want. Like I remember, like, and the reason why I say that is because I think it was 2013 when this whole fight for 15 started kicking off.
Yeah.
McDonald's released a thing like, hey man, anyone can live on $7.50 an hour. Like, and then like the meal plan was like, but you only eat like 800 calories a day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. I think we have run out of time. I mean, we're about 10 minutes off, but either way, guys, I think we could continue this conversation another time. Any last comments, Kenan, you have about any of the topics that we discussed today?
Ridiculous times we living in, or maybe all times are ridiculous. Wasn't smart enough to see it.
We're gonna keep. I'm sure that some of the stuff we're gonna keep coming back. Next time we will give you guys an update what's going on, in Israel and Palestine. So far, they have ceasefire. I'm gonna tell you guys that, but the problem continues. Some of the Palestinians still being harassed by the Israeli government, the police, and whatnot. It sucks, but as it is what it is. Hopefully, it'll come back to bombarding Palestinians and whatnot, because obviously I'm sure the government wants to keep doing that, but hopefully that doesn't happen, and they come to an agreement. But yeah, so you guys, we'll keep you guys updated on what's going on over there. See you guys until next time. Peace.